look how the Antarctica is looking ice at record levels. Look how glaciers are receding everywhere in a dramatic way. Look how fires are becoming much more intense and much more devastating. Look at heat waves in many countries in the world, even very far from the equator. Look at the multiplication and intensification of hurricanes, cyclones, and other devastating weather incidents. It is clear for the whole of the scientific community that all these things do not happen by chance. All these things happen in a trend, and that trend accompanies what has been the global warming and all the impacts of global warming. So if there is something I am absolutely sure in my political action as an international public servant is that climate action is a decisive priority in our action, and climate change became the defining issue of our planet. Today, this is in the center of our debates, and we have presented recently a policy brief with a proposal, a concrete proposal for the reform of the Bretton Woods system. And I think that more and more countries understand that this needs to be done. And there are two reasons for that. First, because the system became too small. The paid-in capital of the World Bank is $22 billion US. The volume of operations of the World Bank today as a percentage of global GDP is less than 1/5 of what it was in 1960. And it is clear that as a lender of last resort, the IMF has today an enormous difficulty to take into account the global dimension of the crisis we are facing. So the system became small, it needs to grow. And as it needs to grow, there is an opportunity to make it really universal, to make sure that it reflects in its capital structure and in its work the reality of today's world. And I think that this will be sooner or later inevitable. Because if it doesn't happen, we will inevitably see parallel systems emerging, and the risks of fragmentation of the global economy and the financial structures are, in my opinion, extremely dangerous for the global economy. And also, if those risks of fragmentation deepen, they can become beacons of confrontation in the future. So I think it's in the interest of everybody, not only developing countries, but the developed countries. It's in the interest of everybody to adapt the Bretton Woods system, as the Security Council and as other international institutions, to the reality of today's world. Basic principles of multilateralism must be the full respect by everybody of all human rights, economic, social, and cultural, political, and civil. And it is not acceptable to say that if economic and social rights are respected, we don't need to respect civil and political rights. No. And it is also not right to say, as we respect civil and political rights, we don't need to take care of economic and social rights. So I think there is a new synthesis of human rights that is necessary, and I hope, and again, many things come, according to some, into deaf ears. I hope that the ears will also not be deaf in relation to this appeal that I made. There is no international order that works if that order is not based in the UN Charter, in international law, and in human rights.
Secretary General, you are very clear on your call for the reform of the multilateral institutions, in particular the UN Security Council. But this is not a new call. Your past predecessors the late Kofi Annan as well as Ban Ki-moon have called for the reform of this institution. Is there a political will from this august institution to realize the reforms? And this has become a wishful thinking, really, for African leaders and a lullaby to the African masses, because it's not happening. 78 years into the existence of this institution. There's never 70th anniversary. There was a call. It was from Africa again. It was very robust, calling for the reform of this institution, but it hasn't happened even until today. Is there political will?
Well, I can make no promises on things that do not depend on me. They depend on member states. But some things are changing. First, as you know, the General Assembly has decided that whenever a country uses the veto, that country needs to go to the General Assembly to explain the reasons of the veto. It is a small step, but in any case, it would be inconceivable a few years ago. There was every year a working group on the reform of the Security Council. That working group was never based on written texts, and there was never any readout of its work. That has changed. And I believe that when talking and when listening, because I'm referring to what was said by President Biden, by Lavrov, and by the other members of the Security Council, I see that all 5 permanent members today agree that at least there must be one seat for African countries in the Security Council. I haven't seen any opposition in the P5 in relation to this. That is probably the most obvious injustice in the Security Council composition. So, I mean, we are not yet there, but things are starting to move in a different way, and I'm hopeful that the reform of the Security Council will become a strong element in the agenda of our discussions next year.